Welcome DMs and Dungeon Divers. We're going to talk about difficulty class, or DC. So come on in, have a seat. I'm Jimmy Lee, and this is Ability Check. Roll it. Zeus, are you man-spreading? What? Zeus, look at me, buddy. Are you man-spreading? Not a good thing, buddy. No. What are you doing? Two good boys. Odin, how you doing, buddy? Okay, that's my ear, buddy. Okay, that's done. Remember, Dungeons and Dragons, or D&D, is a game that's put out by Wizards of the Coast. So what is a difficulty class? Basically, it's how easy or hard a task is that you're going to actually do, being a player. Now, sometimes the DM determines what the DC is, and sometimes it's already in there what the DC, what it is. And what do we use them for? We use them for spells. We use them for saving throws. We use them for skills, and we also use them for tools. Now, for spells, if you're a spellcaster, you have a spell DC. That means that's how difficult it is for your opponent to save against your spells. Basically, it's determined by your spell casting ability, if you're in, which is intelligence, wisdom, or charisma, depending on what class you are. So let's say that you're a wizard. So your spell casting ability is intelligence. So say you have an 18 intelligence, which is pretty good for especially a low-level character. So you have a +4. You add it to an 8. That makes it 12. Then you add your proficiency bonus, which is, say, that's +3. So that makes your DC 15. For your opponent to save against your spells, he's going to have to roll a saving throw against your spell, depending on what it says he needs to roll, which saving throw he needs to roll, but he has to be 15 or higher to save from your spell. Now, some of the spells that you save from, if you make a save, then you're only taking half damage. Others are you take no damage. Same thing works for you on your saving throws. Say your opponent cast a fireball, and you happen to be in the area of effect, and you're a ranger. Well, you're lucky because your dexterity is one of your proficient saving throws. So you're going to add your dexterity modifier plus your proficiency bonus, and you're going to roll a 20-sided dice. And if you say his DC is 15 or higher, like yours was, then he must make, if his okay, I did that wrong. If his DC is 15, then if you roll a 15 or higher, you made your save and you take half damage. If you fail that save, or in other words, you're 14 or below, then you take full damage. Now, there's one thing about this too. Like I said, the spell DC and saving throws, they work hand in hand there, but also poison. Each different poisons have a DC already, and it's already determined. The DM will determine it depending on what he wants to do or what he's going to use. You're going to take damage. Well, it's usually a Constitution saving throw. If the DC is 15, which apparently we like to use, and you roll and you use your Constitution modifier, and if you're proficient in the saving throw, you add your proficiency bonus, and if you make 15 or higher, you've saved. Sometimes the poison will still do damage, but when you save, you don't have the poison condition. Sometimes if you save, then you only take half damage and you're not in the poison condition. It depends on the poison. Now we're going to talk about skills. Saving DCs and skills. Now, skills have two different ones. There's contested and there's a DC. We're going to talk about the DC, not the contested. We're going to use that in a different video. The DM determines what the DC is, and the way he does this, if you look on page 174 in the Players Handbook, and if you look at page 238 in the Dungeon Master's Guide, there's a little chart there. Okay, and it says DC 5 is very easy, DC 10 is easy, DC 15 is moderate, DC 20 is hard, DC 25 is very hard, and DC 30 is nearly impossible. Now, if it's nearly impossible, that means that at a lower level, you're probably not going to make it. And I haven't put a nearly impossible one in a low level game anyway, but I'm just letting you know. And here's one thing about the DCs here. There is no automatic, if you roll a natural 20, there is no automatic making a difficulty class. And if you roll a 1, there's no automatic failure. So, in other words, 1s do not equal a failure and 20s do not equal a success. You have to make the DC. All right? Okay, so we're going to use, say, like the rogue. The rogue is going to do an investigation check because he's looking for traps. So the DM determines how well this trap is hidden. If it's hidden, if it's very hard, and if it's low light in there, it depends on what it does. And say he says it's a DC 20. It's a hard trap to find. All right. Well, the rogue will use investigation, which is going to be his intelligence modifier. Hopefully he has one, and also his proficiency bonus. He'll roll a 20-sided dice and he adds those together. And if he makes 20 or higher, he's found the trap. Now that he's found the trap, he wants to get rid of it. Well, one of the ways to do that is he's going to use his thieves tool. So he's going to use his tool. Well, he's hopefully very proficient in his tools. What I mean by that is that thieves has expertise, and hopefully he's put it in his thieves tools. But anyway, what he's going to do is that to go against this, the DM also sets a DC for the trap itself, how well it's made, all that. Say he's going to say the DC is 15. It was well hidden, so that was 20, but it's just it's a moderate trap, you know. So he's going to set the DC at 15. The rogue needs to roll, since he's going to use his thieves tool, I would go say, okay, you're going to get rid of this trap. You're going to use your dex. So he's going to take his dex modifier plus his proficiency bonus. Hopefully it's doubled because of his skill. And he's going to roll it. And if he makes 15 or higher, he disengages the trap. The trap is not there anymore. It's good. If it's 14 or below, nope, sorry, it's still there. Now, one of the things I like to use is if the trap, if he rolls the DC is 15, and he rolls a 14, trap's still there, didn't disengage it, and he knows it. 5 below that, if he rolled a 10, if he rolled a 10, nope, he doesn't know the trap is still engaged. So if it's 5 below, then the trap is not engaged. Now, if it's 10 and below, he'll set the trap off. So the thing is, he has to roll pretty bad. Usually he's not going to set the trap off if it's a DC 15 because, well, if he rolls a 1, he gets to add all his bonuses. And so that's not going to, even if he fails, he's not going to make a 5. Right? The thing is, if the DC is 20 and everything is up to a 10, the trap's been set off. But anyway, that's the way I like to do it. And here's another thing I like to do too, is what I like to do is like I'll set the DC on the trap, or DC on the difficulty of whatever skill they're gonna use, and I want the player to role play it. I want them to tell me, don't tell me you're gonna roll. I'm gonna roll this skill. Here's my roll. No, don't do that. What I want you to do is tell me what you're going to do, how your character is actually going to check this out, what they're doing, how they're doing it, what they're looking at, what kind of things, what are they using to help them do this. And what I'll do is I'll start lowering the DC on this. say it's a DC 20. All of a sudden he's telling me he's using this. He's using a he's going to bring light on the subject. It's going to, if it helps, I'll bring it down. I'll start bringing it down. All of a sudden it's a DC 18. Then it's a DC 16. I'll bring it down two steps. For each thing, I think it's actually going to help them do it. But there's a catch to this too. He's going to do something that's going to make it hard for him to do. I'll start raising it up 2 steps. So if I start out with a DC 15, and he's telling me this, it might be DC 10 by the time he finishes, or he or she tells me what they're doing, and now it's a DC 10. Then I'll let them roll, all right? But also, it could raise it up to a DC 20, depending on what they're telling me. And this is role-playing. And actually, if you start at first level and you start getting them to do this, this is what they're going to want to do. They're going to want to role-play this, DMs, because they see what's happening, right? And they're actually learning their characters, and they're actually learning what they can do, right? Well, that's what it is. That's difficulty class. And I hope I've explained this to you, because I've had some people tell me they don't understand what it is. But it is. I'm Jimmy Lee. This is Ability Check. And you come back now, you hear? Roll it.